Cutting straight across to it. Breaking news coming in after Railways. Civil Aviation Body DGCA has gone ahead and announced that all the domestic and the international flights will remain suspended till 3rd of May. That's the latest that is coming in after rail. Air services also to remain suspended till 3rd of May. This is the logical impact of the lockdown extension. Rahul Srivastav joining us for the very latest on this. Rahul, good afternoon. This is a very logical impact of the extension of the lockdown, and when the entire nation is observing lockdown till the 3rd of May. It's but natural that railways and airlines are not going to be allowed to be remaining operational until the 3rd of May as well. Questions now rising on what grounds were certain portals even accepting the bookings of the customers even before this particular address made by the Prime Minister.
Shruti, there was a state of confusion over the fact that what after the 14th, and that is why there was a state of preparedness by various entities as far as the future after 14th is concerned in terms of bookings. But the fact is that though there was a stringent demand that the aviation sector and railways should be open for cross movement across the country, the fact remains that if you talk about the domestic aviation sector, if 1 crore of people travel every month across the country using various airlines, and even if you force certain standard operating procedures of social distancing and operate at 1/3 the number of passengers each flight or the available seats, even then it is close to 30 lakh passengers moving across the country. And that would have meant that correspondingly allied activities would have required similar amount of mobilization, and that would have defeated the very idea of a lockdown. The second problem is with the several states already announcing lockdowns and they're sealing their own borders in terms of cross-border movement of people, railways cannot operate because railways is a interstate entity. So moving from one state to another, if there is a lockdown, how can railways really operate? And that is why, to ensure that the social distancing protocols are enforced with great amount of stringence, it was necessary that these two elements, domestic flights and railways, should be stopped. The other element is that international flights, when yesterday the Home Ministry went ahead and extended the e-visas and regular visas, it was a clear indication that international flights will not be allowed into India.
Absolutely. This is absolutely logical. When the country needs to maintain social distancing, the country is under a lockdown for the reason, and saving lives is now the priority of the government. That has become amply clear from the message given out by the Prime Minister as well. But as far as the airline sector is concerned, the people who are attached to the airline sector is concerned, there are still a lot of hopes that they want from the sector in terms of the Prime Minister into the relief measures, because many of them at the moment are on tenter hooks. The Prime Minister says you will not lose your jobs and requesting corporates to not sack the employees. But is that going to be a possibility? Financially, is that even feasible for these private airline carriers?
Chati, that is a very tough question, because that is the price that the Prime Minister was talking about. And it's very well known that if you look at the genesis of the crisis in India, it is in the speech itself, the Prime Minister said that the moment the cases started rolling out in various countries, India had enforced international checks at the international airports. And also when the cases mounted to 100, all passengers coming in were sent in for 14-day compulsory quarantine. The fact remains that airports and movement via airports and airlines has been identified as a hot transmission zones. And that is why it is important to clamp down on that activity.
Apologies about that interruption right there. We've got Manish Tiwari who's joining us live. Remember, after Prime Minister